Hey Patrick, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So I don't get this wrong. Can you please pronounce your surname?
Yeah, Sangimino.
Sanjamin, okay. I was going down the right path, but I don't mean I prefer to ask,
No, I appreciate it. You wouldn't believe how some people have pronounced it. So no, I appreciate that. It has been
Yeah,
all my life, all over the board.
yeah. So I got to ask, what's the heritage with your surname?
I'm Italian
Italian.
Sicilian actually. So yes, little corner of the boot right there at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So where are you coming to us from today?
I am in Sunnyvale, California, which is right smack dab in the middle of the Silicon Valley. The
Nice.
Apple headquarters is probably we're right in the shadows of it. So yeah, it's a pretty little place in Northern
Wow.
California. Yeah.
So you look outside
Chilly
your window,
today.
you can see the Apple headquarters.
No. It's far enough away, but it's such a big place that it casts a shadow on everything, as you know. So
Yeah. Well, I've never had anyone on the show before that is in Silicon Valley. What's it like living there?
well,
Honestly.
it's fun. It's funny you say that because I grew up in just up north in San Francisco, about 40 miles away, and I went to college down here in San Jose, which is the Silicon Valley. And when I was going to college, it was San Jose was a sleepy little town, and now it's just there's technology everywhere. You'll be driving by and you'll see, oh, there's the 23andMe headquarters. Oh, there's Google. Oh, there's LinkedIn, and it's weird. It's like, okay. It's like taking a dive into the internet, just driving down the street.
Yeah, I can imagine how weird it can be, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, here's the tycoons or the tech tycoons of the world right here, in my
Oh,
backyard, the guys who run the world, you know? Do you ever
very
like see
smart
one of them
people.
like walking around, just
I don't know.
go
I don't know
around?
that I've ever seen them, but you know what the weird thing is? We have this thing called Waymo, and it's a driverless car service. So you'll be driving along and you'll see the Waymo cars coming by and there's nobody in them and you freak out for a little bit because there's lots of them and you think,
Yeah.
okay, when are they going to take over the world on us and they're just going to like ram into you or something. So
Yeah,
someday.
yeah. I guess it's weird and it's cool at the same time.
Yeah, it's it takes some getting used to because I moved back from the Midwest. And the Midwest is Kansas, Nebraska, all of these agricultural states. And they're very there's no traffic, there's not a lot of people, everyone's really friendly. The cost of living's amazing and all of a sudden here I am back smack dab in the middle of Silicon Valley, and it's a completely different way of life. So it's interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. I'm
Have you
just
been
like
to America? Have you been to
no,
America?
no, I haven't.
Yeah.
I
All
was
right.
invited for an event in Los Angeles earlier this year, but unfortunately, I couldn't make it. I was
Okay.
actually, yeah, publicist there as well. They host like this yearly event. So it's a contest, that runs throughout the year, and then they have like, the award show at the end.
Mhm.
But yeah, let's see what happens next year.
A
Let's see what
little
happens.
inside information. So we're in San Francisco up north, this northern end of California, and San Francisco and LA have this huge rivalry, and they just dislike each other and everything. So when you said LA, I got a little bit of a chill. I was like, oh, don't go there. So
Yeah, I guess beggars can't be choosers, especially when you have good relationships, with the people out there. And they're like, hey, come through to the event. Want you to interview the guests here, or not the guests, but the contestants and the judges.
Mhm.
So what do you do in that situations?
You would have fun in LA. You would have fun.
Yeah, yeah. As I said, let's see what happens. You know, next year. So, I mean, before we could come onto the show, we are talking about Thanksgiving. You just came out of Thanksgiving. So, for the listeners, how was it? I know you were like in it, telling me how it was. I was like, Patrick,
Oh,
asked us
That
in the
was
show.
fun. So Thanksgiving is just a day where you get to like eat lots of food and you know, you always have turkey. Turkey's like the main dish, and then there's all these little side dishes, and everybody loves the side dishes. But you also have football, American football, that's on all day, and it starts at like
Yeah,
10 in the morning. And it goes to like 10 at night. So you're just watching football all day. Then you're in this turkey induced coma from eating too much, and so you're just sitting there and yeah, it's fun. You know, it's a fun day because you're just around family and you're just enjoying each other, and you're just, yeah, you're not working, you're just talking about life and just reacquainting yourself with people you haven't seen in a while.
yeah. So it's just like the movies. Just like the movies. It's just what I'm
Well,
seeing on
you
me.
know, I wish you could say there are also some horror stories that you could imagine with, yeah. They there are some people who, you know, there were like warnings this year, don't talk politics
Yeah,
on Thanksgiving. You know, it's
yeah,
like which of your uncles is going to bring this up and it's
yeah,
going to
yeah,
start a war. So,
yeah,
thankfully we had none of the like today. So,
yeah.
or this week. So, it was good. It was fine.
There was actually a movie I watched last night. I'm not sure if you watched it. It's called The Oath. And what you just said right now, the movie is around that.
Yeah.
Exactly around that. You know, like there's this rule we are not going to talk politics at the table, but politics does come up and it causes this whole huge argument that leads to the, government officials rocking up at this guy's house and they want to arrest him. And, the tables turn where he gets the advantage. Both these agents are knocked out, they tied up. And the story unravels. But at the end of the show, so it's like drama, thriller with a whole lot of comedy. But just as you mentioned it, just as you
Yeah.
mentioned
Yeah, the worst we would have is a food fight, I'm sure. But
it. But Patrick, pre-show, you were asking me, out here in South Africa, whether we celebrate Thanksgiving. I was like, not really. It's not a norm. But every Thanksgiving, I love to send messages, to friends, colleagues, especially the ones overseas, wishing them and their family all the best for Thanksgiving. But the bigger picture for me is giving thanks,
right.
which is something we should do all around the world. Like
Absolutely.
we should give thanks, we should give gratitude for everyone that's associated, in our lives. So whether you
Absolutely.
celebrate it or not, or you think to yourself, listen to the show now, right now, and you're thinking, oh no, but in South Africa or in Europe, we don't really. I know there is some countries that do celebrate Thanksgiving the way they do in the States. Thinking to themselves, oh no, why should I? It has nothing to do with me, but it's about thanks. Give thanks. Like
Yeah.
how often do we miss that in our lives?
Yeah, it's really interesting because having lived in you know, in California now, I live in a place where the sun shines year round. You know, so it's you get kind of spoiled. But I just came from the Midwestern part of the country where you have an actual like winter is on the way. And I always felt a little bit of Thanksgiving in the spring when everything came up new and we kind of survive. You get that feeling of survival after you survived a long winter, and now all of a sudden you get to go outside and the weather's a little warmer and the
Yeah,
flowers are blooming and the trees are starting to come up and so I always wondered why Thanksgiving was in November. It could be in April and it would be perfect. So I don't know. I always felt more thankful and yeah, like because right now I'm thinking if I was in the Midwest, I'm like, oh, it's just a matter of time. I'm gonna have to shovel snow pretty soon, and
yeah.
that's not a fun thing. Do you get snow out there?
Um, So there's certain areas where you do get snow. Where I'm based, you don't really get snow.
Uh-huh.
But if we go to like mid South Africa, there's a place called the Drakensberg. There is snow. There's mountains, white mountains, and
Yeah.
there you do get snow. And at times, I'm going to pin it down to global warming. At times, but once again, not where I am, at certain other areas, depending how the weather is going, maybe there's a cold front and this is going down to the coast, going down towards Cape Town.
Mhm.
If there's a cold front, they will experience some snow. That
Okay.
is not as severe, as you would have experienced it out in the States.
I get you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right.
So interesting, to exchange what's it like
Yeah.
where I am, where you
No, I like
Yeah,
that. I like learning new things. That's
yeah,
probably how I became a journalist. You got to be a curious person, and
yeah, 100%.
yeah, I mean, if you're not learning something every day and you're not curious about what's around you and the people you meet, and that's the one thing, like, as a journalist, I always believed you could walk up to anybody and they would have a story you would want to tell.
Yeah,
All you have to do is find it. You have to find a way to pull it out, and that's kind of the cool thing about what I got to do all those years.
yeah. Let's jump on that. Let's start there. You're award-winning journalist turned author. You have been in the media / newspaper industry for a long time. You've
Yeah.
worked for several publications, serving as an editor. So, where did all start for you, leading up to the point of which moment or story in your life made you think and realize, hey, I want to write a book?
That's really interesting. So I grew up in San Francisco in a very sports minded neighborhood, and we were all, we played sports all the time. We were playing American football, we were playing baseball, we were playing basketball, everything. And I was pretty pragmatic for a 9 or 10 year old kid, and I realized that I was probably never going to be big enough or strong enough or fast enough to make a living doing this, although I loved it. So I knew early on that I wanted to be I was like, wow, it would be kind of fun to write about this sort of thing. And there was a TV show on at the time, and I don't expect you to know what this show was, but it was called The Odd Couple, and it was based on a play by Neil Simon, and it was about two divorced men who were living together. One of them was a persnickety photographer, but the other one was a New York City sports columnist, and his job was to go to the ballpark every day and write a story, just talk to athletes and write these stories. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. I was 9, 10 years old, and that's what I wanted to do at that point. So I kind of knew early on what I wanted to do. You go to school and I had a lot of people help me along the way to get into the journalism field and kind of guide me through it. The idea for the book came about as I got to live through what I consider to be the golden age of journalism. We had a presidential scandal when I was a little boy called Watergate that was huge. And that wasn't my impetus as much as in 1989, we had a big earthquake in San Francisco, 7.1 earthquake right in the middle of the World Series. And if I'm rambling, let me know, cut me off. But
No, continue.
and so this earthquake right in the middle of the World Series caused our city we had a bridge collapse. We had fires all over the place, and the World Series got postponed for about 2 weeks. And meanwhile, there was no electricity or anything in the city. And I watched as it was the only time in my life that the morning paper has never come out the next day. And it took a 7.1 earthquake to do this. And I realized when we finally came out with a newspaper, and I was a brand new reporter at this point, and I got to see the job or the role of the media at that point, and it was to inform people of where to go, what to do, how to proceed, because there were no cell phones at this point. There was no internet. All of this stuff was contingent on what you gleaned from your radio reports, your television reports, but nobody had electricity. So the newspaper became this vital source of information, and it was huge. And I was like so proud of our industry, and it made me realize, yeah, this is what I wanted to do. Now, fast forward to where we are today, the newspaper industry has kind of circled the drain a little bit. It's a tough industry because the internet has taken over, and we have the social media and all this stuff. And as a result, we've had all of these mass layoffs that are happening over the years. And I saw some really good friends lose their jobs over the course of the last 5 years, the last 10 years, because of these mass layoffs. And I was like, wow, what would I do if this happened? That's where the idea for the book came up. It's basically based on a guy driving to work, a sports columnist driving to work on a Friday afternoon in November, and realizing that he's probably going to lose his job that day because of this mass layoff that's coming. And it takes place over a single day, but it flashes back to all of these moments in his life and all these people in his life. So that's where the idea came up.
Yeah. And for the listeners, the name of the book is Dog Chase Cars.
Yes.
So since I've mentioned the name, what inspired that name?
The name is funny. It's when I was in, and I feel like I'm rambling. So if I am, just tell me.
Oh no.
That. So when I was,
I love it when I love it when I love it when the guest does ramble, because I'm just getting to know you so much more.
Well, thank you for indulging me then. So when I was in high school, I was I guess wasn't as much of a ladies' man as I wanted to be, but I was talking to this girl, and I was making some inroads to possibly getting asked her out, and the bell rang, and it was time to get to class, and I was like, no, I'm not leaving right now because I'm talking to this girl and I want to see how far we go. And so my class was right across the hallway, and the teacher was standing at the door, and he's watching me talk to this girl, and he's fuming. And finally I say, look, I gotta go. And so I walk into the class about 10 minutes late, and I looked at him and I said, sorry, I was talking to somebody. And he looked at me and he said, well, dogs chase cars, but they can't drive them.
Okay.
And so this became kind of a metaphor for me. It's like, what happens, over a lifetime of chasing something when you finally catch it? Are you capable of knowing what to do and how to keep it, how to maintain it, how to make it yours in a responsible way? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me. And I'm thinking, do you mention this hidden message in the book somewhere?
Yeah,
Because if it's not for a podcast interview, someone will probably be like, okay, I'm still trying to link, the story to the name,
Oh, it's definitely in there. It's over a course of a lifetime, and that becomes I kind of weave that in through at this one point in the first 50 pages or so. But yeah, that's how the name came about.
Yeah. So you mentioned ignorance and arrogance from the industry's decision makers. So the book is labeled fiction, but I'm sure there's non-fiction as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Some experiences.
Yes. So a lot of the stories that took place are based on experiences that I had from being in a newsroom so long and watching how the decisions were made. And if you're a sports fan, all of the stories are factual, what took place. But where the fiction part is the newspaper and how it fell off a cliff, and what took place. It was kind of a caricature of lots of different newspapers and what they were going through at that time.
Yeah. I guess they are falling off a cliff, if you ask me my honest opinion. When I look at the media these days, and
Mhm.
how it's changed so much. But it's so complex. I'm going to elaborate on why I'm saying that, because I just did this latest blog, right? And I actually submitted it to my local newspaper, who I have a good relationship with, even though I do get frustrated with them at times,
Mhm.
because and it's built by design, where you get more negativity than positivity in your community. And I'm like, guys, what's up? What's happening? I'm tired of the newspaper dropping at my door each and every single week, and the front pages, this disaster has happened. But once again, built by design. Let's make the people more scared, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
this latest blog that I submitted to them, and it's already been sent to the editor to be part, because what the community is allowed to send, like, a thought, a feeling that gets included in the letters for the week. And I'm not sure about the stats in the States, okay, but I did like this research in South Africa. And currently, at the moment, there's 79% of the population that have access to the internet, means they have sufficient data, reliable, or they say it's reliable data, but out of that 79%, there's a good percentage that doesn't have reliable, steady network. And plus, data is so expensive in South Africa. And now you got the other 21%, which is about 18.6 million of the population that have no internet at all.
Wow.
So they are still now connected to traditional media, which is the radio stations, which is the local newspaper, the national paper. And there's just so much negativity there. And the reason I took a deep dive into this was because, being, from the music industry myself, I'm like starting to say, okay, we're living in the streaming era. We have artists out there that don't have access to the streaming era. So, what opportunities are available to them? And what I'm saying to the local paper is, there's still so many gates that are closed for the artistic community, whether you be an author, whether you be a musician, it is still closed. Okay. So, even though, as you mentioned, we're living in this digital era where you're getting your news online now, when you really look at the numbers, there's a good percentage of the pie that is not, you
Right.
know. So they're still consuming traditional media. Now, my issue with that is the negativity, which
Mhm.
is built by design. Now, that negativity controls so much of the population, country to
Absolutely.
country. What do we do? What do we do?
That's the $1 million question right there. That's such an important thing. I was raised at a time where the I think we talked about journalists being curious, um, but objectivity was such an important factor in everything. And if you were going to cover one side of a story, you had to get the other side of the story as well, just to present both sides, because your job wasn't to tell just one side. Your job was to give a balanced um uh sector of the news in that way. And it's just changed completely. And much of it has to do with people get their news now where not where the information is accurate, but it's what they want to hear. And there are separate newspapers or television stations here in America that cater to them. And and so somewhere along the line, nobody really knows what the truth is, and that's scary. We have a real problem with what's real, and there is a lack of trust in the way things are presented, because nobody really knows what the truth is. It's somewhere in the middle, and I think people cherry pick the notes they want and the key points, and then it starts. And it's how politics bleeds into our coverage.
Mm, mm. Yeah. You mentioned truth, and we're living in a world where everyone has their own version of the truth, and they're sticking by it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes.
instead of looking at the facts, no, this is my truth, and I'm sticking by it. I will fight for this truth. I will kill for this truth. This is my
Yes.
truth, you know.
And that's the funniest part is when you referred, I've never understood the term my truth, because it's not your truth, it's our truth. It should be, the truth should be the same for you, for me, for everyone. Um, it's not how you perceive it, it's what actually happened. So that's we've just got a real problem with how facts are presented now. And I think the media has done a real disservice to in informing the public over the last 10, 15 years. It's I think they have a lot of explaining to do, and it's sad to me. It's sad to me because I am so proud of the profession I grew up in, and I look at it today and I'm like, this is not the same. This is not the same industry.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, your thoughts on, where you started versus today. And I think
Yes.
you've answered it. It's definitely not the same industry.
No.
Definitely.
Well, and what happens is you get into survival mode where making the bottom line becomes the objective, and unfortunately that means appeasing the people who is your readership or your viewership. And if you want to keep them, you have to give them what they want to hear or want to read, and and that's a problem.
Hmm.
So the news is presented in a different way. That was never the case when I got into the industry. It was delivered one way.
It's more organized. And I don't mean
Mhm.
that in a good way. You know,
No,
I
it's
don't mean that.
yeah, yeah. It's organized to sow chaos in a lot of ways. If there is such an oxymoron as that, that's it right there.
Yeah, yeah. I was speaking to a colleague today and I'm like, the world and people are just going so crazy that we're not thinking anymore, but we're living in a world that's driven so much by emotions, and if I'm running a publication, all I need is a team that's going to monitor that emotions, and we are going to tap into their emotions, and we are going to sell the solution to their emotion. That's
Yes.
what's going to make us money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you're
That's
when
it.
you're watching the news, when you're watching the news at night and you see the auto crash, for example, the best thing you could have is for somebody to keep watching is to have the mother of the victim crying, because that's the emotion you're going to draw on right there. Well, it's heartbreaking, and that's probably not the face of the story you want at that moment. You want facts. What happened, but here
Yeah,
we are.
yeah, yeah, exactly. We want facts, back to, truth. I'm not sure how much you know about, South Africa's history of apartheid and
Oh,
Nelson
we've heard a
Mandela.
lot about it out here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, as a journalist, so
Hmm.
there was this. Are you familiar with Desmond Tutu?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can't remember what the organization it's called. It slipped my mind, but he set up this organization, post apartheid, post 1994,
Hmm.
and it was around truths. Let's iron out the grievances, and he mentioned that there's different types of truths. Okay, there's individual truths. I got a truth. Patrick has a truth. There's community truths. As a group, collectively, we all have the truth. But the only truth that matters, and this is what I tell people or try to tell people, but they just cannot comprehend it, is the truth that matters for me personally as Kino is the facts. Let's
Hmm.
look at the facts. You know, we can all have a truth. Let's argue, Kino and Patrick, we can argue about what the truth is. Your
Uh-huh.
community is going to have a truth. My community is going to have a truth. But let's look at the facts. What are the facts telling us? But I've come to realize that people don't want to look at the facts. They just don't. You know,
Well,
they
and
just
and we've come to a point where facts get manipulated too, and and you might pull this one fact out that helps you, but but disregard another fact that kind of keeps it on the up and up.
Yeah.
Both sides are cherry picking the facts they want to make a point. And that's where it's getting scary, because they're telling, that's where their truth comes into play. But if you're being objective and presenting the news as you should, all of those facts would be in there.
Yeah.
So the reader would go, okay, I get it. Wow, this is a tough issue. And most issues are tough.
Yeah. And another component to that is people are so comfortable with the lie
Yes.
that they can't handle the truth. The truth is an illusion to them, I am comfortable with the lie, and I'm going to stay in the lie.
Yes. Well, it's, if you peeled away all of the ego that's involved in all of a sudden, if you acknowledge, yes, this wasn't factual, now all of a sudden you have to backtrack and you have to swallow some pride, and there aren't many people that are willing to do that at this point. They're so deep in it, and it's just scary.
It is, but we can only do our best, with podcasts being like so decentralized to, speak the truth, get the truth out there, try to educate people as much as we can. But, there's only a certain and a very small percentage, which is millions globally, right?
Yeah.
That actually taking the information and be like, yeah, that does make sense to me, Let me practice this in my life. Let me do my best to communicate this message. Let me share this podcast with someone else. It's all
I like the way you think. You need to come to America.
Man, if I come to America and speak this type of truth, I'll probably get locked up, Patrick.
No. You'd be president, I think.
Sure. As a fast stretch. But like I run 3 different podcasts, just like, by the way, on the show, 3 different podcasts. We got this podcast, which, bulk of the community and the guests are from America and from Canada. The second podcast is called Talking Back to Suicide, and that's co-hosted with a lady. She's based out in Oregon. She's a retired child psychiatrist, and we run that. And then there's the third one, which is called Creating Team Human. And I co-host this with an author who was on the show as well, who's based in Canada. And that podcast is around ironing out this division that there is globally, at the moment. And through all 3 shows, everyone has a different opinion. And on this show, I've had a Democrat come on, I've had a Republican come on, and I am not biased. I will hear what you have to say, and I will hear what you have to say, because you, an author, sharing your views, you, an author, sharing your views. Okay, guys, what do we have? What's up? Let's talk. I can't put them in the same room because it's chaotic. It's chaotic. I listen to both views, because that's just the type of person I am. But on Creating Team Human, I'm trying to be like, okay, that's your view, that's your view. How can we all work together?
Exactly.
And I'll be honest with you, it's hard to get to that solution. It really is. It's hard. And what annoys me the most, and I'll put it out there, is, say, for example, now, okay, Patrick, I'm talking to you and you got, blue side views, and you stuck with that. That's it. I can't get another opinion from someone else. Then I interview on the red side, the red side of life now. And then, they're like, okay, I agree with this, but I don't agree with this. And here's Patrick now disowning Kino. I don't want nothing to do with you, Kino. How could you interview that person? I'm like, what?
Yes.
Really?
I get it.
And I'm thinking to myself, but I still go online and I will still support Patrick with whatever they are sharing, their views. That's the type of person I am.
Well, that's the scary thing about life right now, is that it used to be that it didn't matter what your politics were. You found someone you liked, and that was, yeah, the politics were such a small part of your personality and what you believed in, and um it didn't matter. You either liked the person or you didn't like the person. And now it's become, I mean, there are women who won't date uh reds or blues or whatever. And it's like, why is that? I mean, where did the physical attraction kind of bleed into politics? It's scary to
Yeah,
me. Yeah,
yeah,
and
that's a good point you've mentioned, eh?
yeah, it's
We,
crazy. It's like this is not the way life should be.
yeah, it's not, relationships, once again, I'm going to break up with you, because that's your political views. But I mean, when we met, politics wasn't even on the table,
No,
right?
and it's
Instead of,
really interesting because I told you I grew up in San Francisco, very blue place. And I was raised that way. I'm very socially liberal, and I moved to the Midwest, which is very red, and spent 30 years there. Became more like understood what that side of the fence sees, and believe in a lot of what they say now. So now I'm kind of right in the middle. I'm very fiscally conservative, but socially still believe that everyone has a right to pursue their happiness and as they see fit. So I'm very liberal in that regard. And so I'm kind of if you were gonna if you were gonna label me, I'd be kind of a man without a state right now. I'm just right in the middle, and I kind of like it because it fits me pretty well as a journalist. But it's very interesting because I don't have to declare which side of the fence I'm on because I see both sides.
yeah, yeah, you and I are on the same frequency, Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the same frequency. And, honestly, there is a lot of people out there that are on the same frequency, and they just need to make, their voice more heard. Hey, guys, what's up? You know,
Yeah.
you got an issue, you got an issue. Let's come to the same table. Let's talk about it. You know, simple.
No.
And that's what the Creating Team Human podcast is about. It's about this tribal divisions globally, and about just bringing more unity, with people.
I like the way you think.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
we
I
have,
said, you need to be here.
yeah, yeah. Let's have a conversation. Let's get into a dialogue instead of wanting to kill each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what you
Yeah.
eventually find out too is that um, we have far more in common than we have differences, and we're all life
Yeah.
is hard. We're all struggling in some way, and we all have um, our phobias and our anguishes and our troubles, and you need people around you to help you get through it all. And you'd be foolish to divide yourself from someone who could help you based on who they voted for.
Yeah.
We're all in this together.
It's the human race, when you really look deep into your day to day, and this is how I view the world. We all, no matter which country we're from, I'm on this side, you on that side, we all went to school the same, we
Mhm.
all eat the same, we all go to the toilet the same.
Yeah.
Right? We all read the same, we all see the same, right? We all consume electricity the same, we communicate the same.
Yep.
So, are you really thinking about this right now? What's really different? You know, about how I go about life, how you go about life, right? After high school, if you follow the system, you go to college, you go to university in America. Yeah, we do the same thing in South Africa. You do the same thing in New Zealand, the same thing in Europe. So, what's different? You go get a job the same, you work in the same hours the same, guys, we take in the same lunch breaks, the same.
Yes. You know, in America, they say he's just like you. He puts his pants on one leg at a time.
Yeah, there we go. You know, it's just like we just need to start thinking about this,
Yeah.
really think about it. Yeah, but
But I had a friend who I played football with, and when he heard that, his superstition before every game, he would put his pants on both legs at the same time because he wanted to be better than the guy he was playing against that night. And so, yeah, of course he fell on his face a few times too, but he put his pants on two legs at a time, and it got him all on that way. But that was his superstition. That was his way of being better. And that always struck me as funny.
yeah, that is. Oh, Patrick, we could go on and on about, this topic. And
Yes.
this is why I love to have these casual, spontaneous conversation with whoever comes onto the show, because you and I end up building like a friendship, out of this. And then your views, which is so non-biased, being in the middle, is shared with the listeners. And hopefully they're like, yeah, listen to what Patrick is saying. What can I take away from it? Because this is Patrick's brand, So let me go out and read his book, let me check, what it's about. And that's what I love to build. Instead of let's just jump into the book, talk about the book. No, but we're living in this world where I need to understand the person first,
Yeah.
before I go in and I jump in and I buy whatever the product may be. So when it comes to now dog chase cars, like what's the message you want readers to take away?
You know, it it ravels around, well, it centers around the unraveling of a newspaper industry. But if you really want to dig in deep, this is a book about relationships and how important they are to life, and the failed relationships that we take for granted, and in this man's quest to become a a sports journalist, he meets a lot of people along the way who help him and get him to where he is. But he also is so tunnel visioned about getting to where he is that he allows a lot of these relationships to slip. He has a failed marriage. He has a strange relationship with a daughter. At the end of the day, he loses a job and he's all alone because he bet on an industry that he should have never. At the end of the day, family is far more important than anything. And this is a cautionary tale about striking a balance between home and work life and the importance of that. You could be as successful as you want in your business, but if you have no one to celebrate it with at the end of the day, and if you bet everything you have on this business, someday you're going to be left all alone because it's not always going to be there. So that striking the balance of home and work life and telling the people in your life every day that you love them, that's what this story's about.
Nice. I mean, that's a strong message that I feel is needed in this world today.
Yes,
You know,
because we're on this this hamster wheel where we're just moving around and we just keep moving forward, but we forget to celebrate our victories. We forget to smell the roses when we see them. We forget to see the beauty in life and the beauty in the people around you. We take them for granted, and that's sad.
yeah, we do. There's not enough gratitude, going back to how this conversation started today.
Yeah.
There's not enough gratitude in being like in the moment, being
Yes.
present.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. The key to happiness is living in the moment, not dwelling on your past, not looking to your future, but living right here. If you could do that, I mean, you have great South African golfer, Ernie Els, who I'm sure the key to his success was the only thing that mattered was the shot he was taking at this point. And I don't know how much he loved golf, but you can't worry about that shot you just hit into the water. You've got another shot coming right now, and you can't worry about how you're going to putt it because you haven't on the green yet. So anyway, I thought I'd sneak a little Ernie Els in for you.
No, but I mean, you brought a great example by mentioning him. When we think about the past, we get depressed. When we think about the future or just tomorrow, causes a whole lot of anxiety. And, sometimes, it can be easier said than done, and understand that for listeners who are thinking that right now. But it can be done. All it takes is like daily practice. Look around you. What can I be grateful for? I'm grateful right now to be having such a great conversation with Patrick. I'm grateful that I got the lights on. I'm grateful that we got connectivity to have this conversation. I'm grateful to be breathing alive. This is another stepping stone in my life. Be grateful for that. And then we just move on, one step at a time. I can only deal with what's in front of me right now.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to move on to the next.
I will tell you, this is the, it's only not even 10 o'clock in the morning here in California, but you've already made my day. This has been just wonderful. I've loved this.
Yeah, thanks, man. Right back at you. You. It's like, it's evening time. I'm getting to 8 p.m., but like it's the best part of my day because all the shows are scheduled around this time, throughout the weekend. It's like the best part of the day because having these conversations just brings so much clarity to my life. Like no matter what I've gone through throughout the day, hey, just had a great conversation now that takes me into the next couple hours of this day.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. And I hope your listeners will consider reading Dogs Chase Cars. I think there is a message in there that many can relate to. So, I didn't mention the tale of the protagonist and his father, the father-son relationship, which is so vital in life and what he meant to him and how he didn't really appreciate him till after he was gone. And that's a sad thing. You've got to appreciate your father, honor that father, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
100%. No, I love what you're teaching in your work. I honestly do. It's still needed in 2025. It was needed 10 years ago, and it's still needed now.
I appreciate that. That's it's fun. It's writing this thing was such a cathartic experience for me, and it was just it made me, there are parts that I wrote and I found myself crying as I was writing them because it was just, this stuff just flowed out of me. And I was like, wow, that was an experience, just putting it down on paper, like getting into your deepest thoughts and getting them down there, and seeing them in print and then actually seeing them in a book. I got to tell you, that's an experience.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Patrick, I gotta ask, as we head towards the hour mark, being involved in the NFL for such a long period in your life, and I'm sure you're still a huge fan. By the way, who's your favorite team?
San Francisco 49ers.
Right. Thank you. It's out there. It's out there. I thought, by reading about you today, you were going to say Kansas City.
Well, I covered the Chiefs for a lot of years, and it was fun because I enjoyed being out there, and I have some good friends out there. Some of my best friends are still in Kansas City, and I had a blast covering the Chiefs. It's just a beautiful place, but you don't forget, I was raised. My family made me a 49er fan, and blood is thicker than anything. So.
Yeah. 100%.
Now, how big is the NFL out in South Africa?
Wow. Besides me, I don't know anyone else. I can afford a. So, okay, so I'll just pause the question I was going to ask you because now you've asked me that question. So, have you Have you ever watched that the series called Ballers with The Rock with Dwayne
Yes,
Johnson?
with The Rock, yeah.
Oh yeah. So a long time ago now, I came across Ballers. I'm like, okay, let me check this out. You know, there was this hype around Ballers, and then I watched Ballers, and that's how I actually came across NFL. So I'm like, okay, you know, let me start checking it out, try to understand the game. You know, but and then I guess watching Ballers, I was intrigued about the Dolphins.
The
I
Dolphins,
was intrigued.
exactly.
But then being in like the entertainment industry, I started to now be intrigued about the Rams as well. You know,
Okay.
Los Angeles, you know, the hype.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
Rams.
can't be friends. We cannot be friends. No. It, wait, you just went dead. I can't hear you.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay,
Right,
so what were you
yeah,
saying about the Rams?
so yeah, just give it a few more seconds. I just want the connection to be in like 100%. I will edit this part out.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I think we are back. We are back.
Okay. So you're saying about the
Okay.
Rams.
Yeah. So that's where like I've headed now, you know, like Rams. But to be like fully transparent, there's not like one specific team I can say like, yeah, diehard supporter, you know. And then
Okay.
then I look at Kansas City and how they've been doing over the last few years.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you know, Patrick Mahomes. I'm thinking, yeah, phenomenal player. I was actually
Nice
going to
kid.
ask you, like, have you ever met him in your
I have.
journalism career? You have? Wow, wow. Yeah. Then how was that experience?
You know, he puts his pants on one leg at a time.
Yeah.
Nice man, nice young man.
Yeah. And now look at, you know, the NFL gone international where games are now international.
Mhm.
That's also a big wow.
What do you think the chances are of a game ever coming into South Africa?
Oh, very low. Honest
Yeah.
opinion, very low. I just, you know, there's a small percentage, and I'm including that percentage that is so into American culture,
Uh-huh.
you know, and I don't know what to make of it because, like, when I speak to a lot of people, when now the tables are reversed, where I'm actually getting interviewed, and they ask me, you know, Kino, how did your career start? You know, in the music industry. I'm like, when I was growing up, I was not bothered about the entertainment industry locally. I'm not trying to say, okay, I'm disrespecting, you know, where I come from. It has nothing to do with that. But growing up, I was like, I was learning more, observing what was happening in America and the music industry in America than I was locally. And that benefited me, you know, that benefited me. So by adopting that culture, learning from that culture, it's brought me now to interacting with a global audience and having a network that's based in America and Canada. And I'm proud of that. And I love
Right.
that. You know, like the same lady I was talking to you about that I host Talking Back to Suicide podcast,
Right.
she always, you know, does bring up, Kino, have you ever reached out to like podcasts in South Africa? I'm like, no. You're like, no. And then she's like, okay, but no, why? Let's have a conversation about it. I'm saying I just don't love the culture as much as I do the American and Canadian culture.
Okay.
I still feel that there's things that needs to be learned in order for South Africa as a whole to grow, to move from third world to first world, and they are stubborn to learn those things,
Okay.
right? They're stubborn to learn those things. They still dependent on the government to come and save them, and you know, there's still this divide in South Africa, and I'm not comfortable. And I know there's also a divide in America, but the divide in South Africa is like 1994 divide. Okay, so now you
Okay.
familiar with apartheid,
Right.
you're familiar with 94, you're familiar with Nelson Mandela, you're familiar with
Mhm.
the ANC. The mindset is still stuck on that. And we're talking 20 plus years, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, what's up here? We're not moving forward, you know? I need to move forward, and I'm not going to depend on an ANC government that still plays the old school cards of apartheid to move forward, for my life to move forward. Yeah, I'm here to empower, I'm here to inspire. You know, I started this podcast for the benefit of independent creatives, no matter what type of creative you are. I was here to say, look, you don't need the 360 record label deal. Look, you don't need a publisher. You can, get your books out there yourself. You know? So that's what I'm here to do. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's so many talented creators. When I was mentioning the figures to you of 18.6 million people who don't have access to internet, but they talented, living in these poor, lower class communities, they talented, but they just don't have opportunities because they're still in that bubble that the government is coming to save me. And then I'm trying to get out there for them to either listen or to read to say, hey, Kino is here. You don't need to wait for that. Jump on, listen to the podcast, or hit me up online. Let's talk about it, where you are at the moment, what I can do to assist you. There's a lot that I can still do for free, that can give you that push, take that jump. And then once you get on your feet, okay, hit me up again. Now you will pay me for the next step because I know you're already there. You did. Now you can afford to pay me. You see?
Yeah, I got you.
Was I
No,
rambling away?
no. That's a great way of looking at life. You're giving them the tools they need to help themselves. It's you can give them the fish, or you can teach them how to fish.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
To tune in to listen to this podcast is free. Okay.
Yeah.
To go on and read any of the blogs is free. Now, I understand there's still that 21%. Now, that's where I am targeting the traditional media now, and I've started with my community. That's why I have a good relationship with them, but we don't always have the best conversations. Because I'm like, guys, I still need you. Because, for example, I'll give you an example, right? They did an interview with one of the producers that I work with. Okay. And this
Mhm.
interview was done in August this year. So I hooked up the interview. Now, this producer, who's done a lot of projects for me, he's now staying in a lower income community, like what you would call in America the ghetto, right? The ghetto.
Mhm.
That's where he's at. But he's talented, right? But he doesn't know how to go about navigating his career. Now, that's where I jump in. So I give him enough of exposure online. But now I need to give him traditional exposure. Why? They fall under that 21%. But not everybody has access to go read about this guy online, where he can get that exposure and where people can actually listen to his music. They don't. That's the truth. So they publish the article online. Cool. Couple months go by, and all I'm seeing is negativity, negativity, negativity. There's nothing in the entertainment section at all, that can empower these people in the lower income communities, that
Right.
can give this guy the exposure to grow his career. So I call the journalist. I'm like, dude, what's up? Why isn't this getting published in the physical paper? Because where he's from, not all of them can go online to read about him, right?
Right.
So then he's like, yeah, but the editor decides, and I'm sure she'll, publish it, when there's enough for the entertainment section. And that never makes sense to me at all. At all. So I'm still on their case till now on why this is not getting out there for this guy and for this community when I am presenting the facts to you, stats to you, that these people from this community cannot access the article online. You know?
It's everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
It's whose facts are they, and does the readership want that? They are not willing to expand their readership. They want to keep the group in here happy and hope that they can appease them and not lose any of them by putting this in the way it is. It's just shameful. It's just shameful behavior.
Yeah. It's the red tape, you know. It's the red tape. Because
bureaucracy is a bad thing.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, you know. But we'll see what comes. But I mean, you know, it's battles that I am continuously fighting. And this journalist at this paper that I'm actually friends with, he's quite a good journalist. Like, he's awesome. You know, he's inspirational.
His hands are tied, I bet.
His hands are tied.
His hands are tied by the people above him, you know, and they're looking. And that's what I was noticing in the business my last few years was we weren't writing the best stories for us. We were writing the stories that our readers wanted to read and the ones that we could make money off of. And that's not what journalism's about. It's got nothing to do with it. It's about expanding things and presenting objectivity and teaching somebody something new, some new way of thinking about something they might not have seen.
100%, you know. So, yeah, you know, back to what I was saying before, you know, that's the current mentality, like, locally for me. And I do a lot of consulting, you know, for independent creatives. And I got a consulting coach who's based in Nashville. And, you know, so one of the coaches, you know, we had a call a few months ago and he's like, Kino, what's happening? And I'm like, this is where I'm at the moment, right? I got all these opportunities on the table for independent creators, but, you know, gripping one, you know. Long story short, he was like, you know, look, it's time now you just start focusing more internationally when it comes to your consulting, right? The podcast is international, great. But the consulting, you know, that brings in your income, because now they all about now bottom line, you know, besides all the non-profit work that I do, you need to start focusing over, you know, more internationally. And that's exactly what I've been doing and building over the last couple of months. And guess what? I got 2 artists from America signed to my publishing house here in South Africa, independent publishing house. So now I'm handling, you know, all the publishing and distribution for them, you know, all the legalities of the music industry.
Nice.
So you see, he wasn't wrong in what he was saying. You know, I'm capable, I'm knowledgeable of ABC, but unfortunately, I'm in the wrong market. You know, you feel me? So
yeah, you just keep you keep banging on that wall, and eventually it's going to topple over.
Yeah. So I know we've reached 1 hour. The question I was going to ask you when I brought up the NFL, and it's really quick. I had a guest, it was about 2 weeks ago. And then he also mentioned, and this was on Talking Back to Suicide, he mentioned how sports has also become so organized. Now, what's your opinion on that? Has the NFL evolved where it's still how it was when you started watching all those years ago, where it's about the sport, or has it become political like other sports?
You know, I think everything gets politicized. I think the NFL is trying its best to distance itself when it can. I think it's made a couple of missteps, but it's dealing with them right now. You know, we've had a couple little things that have sports and politics. Most people want to watch a football game on Sunday and escape from the everyday life. The things that get thrown at them 6 days a week, 5 days a week at work. And this is when politics and sports start mixing, it starts getting you start losing people. The NFL is in a really unique situation because they could do just about anything, and people will continue to watch it. We saw a guy almost die on an NFL field a couple of years ago on a Monday night game, and as a matter of fact, they say he was dead, and they brought him back to life on the field. He had a cardiac arrest, and after a major hit, and they've survived that. Um, they've got the head trauma issue that's coming down the pike right now, the CTE thing, and I think eventually it is going to hinder the number of it's going to limit the number of people who play football growing up, and eventually trickle upward to the number of people who play high school football, the number of people who play college football, and eventually that's going to have to affect the NFL in some way. We're probably still 25 to 30 years away from that happening, but it's coming down the pike because that's a very scary issue. This head injury issue, and there's no way to get around it. Long term concussions are causing people to contract this disease, which is turning them into very old men at a young age after they retire, and it's becoming very sad. So that's going to be one of those things that happens. It's going to be a slow trickle, but we're starting to see a little bit of it. The NFL is going to have to handle that one, and
Yeah.
I don't know how I don't know how political that is at this point, but eventually it's going to bleed into your everyday world. Because when is a mother not going to let her child play football anymore?
Yeah.
And what is the long-term effect of that on professional football if no one's getting to play football anymore? If moms are not going to, suburban mothers have a lot of power in this issue, and it's one of those things that you look at and you go, wow, okay, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, good point. Why I also mentioned that just really quick is I'm concerned about the Super Bowl halftime shows.
Oh, Bad Bunny this
That's,
year.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's my concern. Not only that, but look, I'm not for white, I'm not for black, right? I'm all about being human,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And there needs to be a balance, right? So the halftime show is outsourced to Rock Nation, right? Jay-Z's crew.
Yes.
And you look at the last 3 years, it's been African American, African American, African American. Dad money now, African
Right.
American, right? There's no
That
balance between
the halftime show has become a really big deal, and it has gotten politicized over the years. And um, this is going to be interesting to see where this one goes, because this one, the first of all, Super Bowl Sunday is about as Americana as it gets. It should be a holiday in America. They should have Mondays off work that day. It should be a national holiday. But Super Bowl Sunday is just a wonderful thing, and everybody watches it. You either watch it for the commercials, you watch it for the game, and you watch it for halftime. And I think you owe it to be I think it needs to be more inclusive, but that's not for me to decide.
yeah. Well, now you got an international view on it, completely
Yeah.
non-biased, non-biased. Like that for me is like it needs to be more diverse. It
Yes.
needs to be more diverse. I mean,
Well,
from Pepsi to Apple, when Apple came on board, that's when that sort of political change started to happen. For me, this is just my opinion, watching it from an outside view, from a different country. And I'm like, something needs to happen here. We need, as you said, more inclusive, like be diverse with the artists, because there's so many messages, like when you really pay attention, especially me being in the music industry, there's so many messages there that can cause so much tension between people. And it doesn't need to be that way,
I remember,
Really
what was it, about 3, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when Jennifer Lopez and somebody, it was Shakira, were they doing a pole dance, basically?
Yeah.
And you're going,
Yeah.
okay, my daughter's 32 years old, so I think she's old enough to watch that. But I don't know if my child was 10 years old, if I'd really enjoy letting them watch that. But I think Super Bowl has become a family day, and I think that needs to be taken into account. I enjoyed a couple of years ago when Snoop Dogg and the old rap stars were on there. I think that was really good. It's
but also a bit political.
Yes.
Once again, hidden messages, but political.
Yes.
It shouldn't happen.
Well, and now I'm hearing that there's going to be a alternative act that's going to be on a different channel at halftime with the what's the Charlie Kirk organization? Whatever it is, his wife.
Turning Point USA.
Yeah, Turning Point. That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
And she's throwing together a bunch of country stars that are going to be on there. And I think it's really cool that a lot of people want to jump on that whole thing, and there's talented musicians, but it doesn't have to be a either or kind of thing. I'd like to watch both of them and see what it is. I don't know who Bad Bunny is. I'm old, so but it sounds like
that's the problem right there. That's the problem right there. I mean, do you really go and send these surveys out to all Americans?
Yes. Do you remember when Prince was on? Do you remember when Prince was on?
Yeah. Prince,
I mean, that was amazing because that was our time, and Prince. I remember Michael Jackson and I
don't remember Michael Jackson, but I watched on YouTube. Yeah. I mean, I was still baby.
Yeah, you're a youngster. I'm old enough to remember all this, But no, I think that the halftime show in itself is, if it's important to you, I think it needs to be inclusive. For me, it's always been just, all right, well, it's going to be a longer halftime before they start playing football again. And I'll watch it, and I usually pull something positive out. Like, okay. I always like that there's a guest star that comes out there that you weren't expecting.
Yeah. It's like the main event.
Yes, exactly. You're bringing it there. I like this. Like Steven Tyler is all of a sudden out there singing, or Kid Rock or something, and you're going, wow, I wasn't expecting that, but I like the way they're jamming together. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. I think
the halftime show is a it's an interesting topic because it's become this big unveiling now. It used to just be the NFL. The NFL has figured out that whatever they throw out there, they can put a velvet curtain on it and raise that curtain, and everyone's going to go, oh wow, and it's going to be the big news for the next week. NFL is amazing public relations. They are the best. And they have turned their game, which plays from Labor Day weekend, first week in September, to the second week in February. So half a year, they've turned it into a year-round industry, and people will read about it, and they will watch it year-round because they know how to market themselves.
That's it. That's it. Marketing. Marketing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what a way to conclude it, like if there's anyone out there that has doubts that I grew up, based on American culture, there's proof right there. I mean, like,
You're throwing WWE out, and I'm like, whoa, I was not expecting that.
wow, I was gonna put Turning Point USA at the top,
Yeah.
Years ago, like Turning Point USA,
Yes.
like okay.
Yes. Yeah, I mean that's been an interesting story over the last few months, and and all of that is it's just it makes all of this. We're at such a turning point in America, so their name is appropriately given, I guess. We're at this crossroad where it could go either way, and you're hoping that cooler heads prevail, and you figure out, wow, let's have the conversation now.
Yeah. I guess I don't know. We'll see what Erica has planned.
Exactly. But Sunday should never be a reason to divide a country, and because it's such a special day in America, and there will be people who will laugh at me for saying this. They're like, what are you talking about? It's football. But it is a small slice of Americana. And my best friend growing up, his dad was the bookie in town, and he used to have these parties with all of his degenerate gambling friends when I was a kid. And I remember being at his Super Bowl parties when I was a little boy, and he'd make me decorate his house. Me and his son, we would decorate the house for all these people coming over, and it was a big deal. I mean, this was when I was 10 years old, and from that point on, Super Bowl has always been special to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a special occasion. Even for me,
Yeah.
that is a special occasion.
Yeah, but
yeah,
it should never be a reason to divide. And I don't know. Do you guys have Hallmark cards out there? Does Hallmark make greeting cards out there?
No.
Okay, so that's the big company out here that makes greeting cards, and that's Hallmark has created all these holidays over the course of the year, and we have Mother's Day, and we have Father's Day, and we have Grandparents' Day, and we have all these silly Valentine's Day, all these things. If they really were into this, Super Bowl would be a holiday, and they'd make a greeting card for it, and you would send it to all your friends,
Yeah.
But Hallmark just hasn't jumped on board. That's the only thing missing from Super Bowl Sunday being a holiday.
Yeah.
So.
Nah, it should. It should. You have a point. Hopefully someone listens to this and be like, yeah, let's get a petition. Let's make it a holiday.
It should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, it comes on at what, like 2 a.m. for you? 4 a.m?
It's if I remember correctly, it's about 1 a.m. and finishes at 6 a.m. Yeah, by me. Yeah.
That's a commitment right there.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same like with WWE. So when I was in school, I was into it. Like, yeah, into it. Now I just follow the storyline and I, watch certain highlights. So like today's Monday, so it was War Games, Saturday night. Yeah, it was Saturday night. So War Games started at 1 a.m. here. No, sorry, 2 a.m. here, and finish at 6 a.m. So I don't need to watch the whole show. There's only certain matches I want to watch, and that was like the men's War Games.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it for me. So I never timed it exactly right. I woke up a bit too early, which is about 3:30 here, and then I caught a bit of, I think it was the John Cena and Dominic Mysterio match, and it was the women's heavyweight title match, and then it was the men's War Games match. So, yeah.
All right.
But I mean, the storyline still gets you. It's still creative, like the storyline is still creative. Like I can sort of predict where this is going to go. Like I knew someone was going to disturb the match, but I thought it was going to be. Do you follow WWE?
We were raised in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, I knew sort of Seth Rollins was going to come back, but I thought it was going to be like a full blown hate comeback. But yeah, now we got a hooded guy that comes in, ruins it for CM Punk and does all the moves that Seth Rollins would do. But the question in my mind is it Seth Rollins? Because I'm thinking 50% no, 50% no. And it's something that Paul Heyman has got cooked up, like, yeah, I'm going to make you think it's Seth Rollins, but it's not Seth Rollins. We're going to pin it on Seth Rollins. So CM Punk goes after Seth Rollins, but it wasn't Seth Rollins, and there's someone else that's going to join the vision, So that's what my mind is at. Yeah, that's what my mind is at. Because, maybe, because I'm thinking, why wouldn't he just expose himself if it is Seth Rollins? Because he would go after the vision because of what the vision did to him. So for me, it's not Seth Rollins. It's more like we're gonna blackmail, not blackmail. We're gonna put it on Seth Rollins, because it's all the same move. So we're gonna make everyone think it's Seth Rollins, and CM Punk is gonna be furious that Seth Rollins did this to me again, But it's not. So let's see where it goes. Let's see.
Well, like I said, the writers on those things, the people who are writing those dramas, they are just as good as anybody who ever wrote for a soap opera or anything. They know how to draw on the emotions of people. It's good stuff.
It is. I mean, if you have let's forget WWE International, right? But you had 46,016 people at that stadium. Like, come on. I mean, like WWE when I was in school versus now is just something else, It's something else. And they just keep, as you said, the people who are writing. I mean, Triple H has the position of chief content officer. Such positions never existed before. Now you get in corporate companies that have a chief content officer. It's a position now. Now you're going to have a chief AI officer. It's there.
We had a guy, like I knew this guy who was a television announcer or is a television broadcaster in Kansas City when I was there. And his name was Jonathan Coachman. And he got hired by Vince McMahon, and he became a fighter on a wrestler. And he was part of the drama and everything. So yeah, I always look at him and I'm like, there's a fine line between television journalist and WWE fighter. There you go. Yeah.
100%.
You just follow the script.
Follow the script. I mean, politics is a script.
I guess it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like I think it was Donald Trump's first term. The guy who wrote his speeches was recruited from Hollywood.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was recruited from Hollywood. I can't remember his name, but he was from Hollywood that writes the speeches.
You can't make this stuff up. The truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, you can't make this up. Yeah.
I
mean, that's a line I also use all the time. You can't make this up, guys. You cannot make this up.
This is the world we live in right now.
Yeah, look deeper, do research.
Yes. And we're supposed to look at it and be outraged or be, life is a WWE event. Remember that.
Exactly. Wow. That's why I said you and I are on the same frequency. You and I are on the same frequency. Yes.
They've come. Well, think about it. The Secretary of Education right now is Vince McMahon's wife. Trump's Secretary of Education, Vince McMahon's wife. She probably brought a couple of writers with her, and they're writing this whole thing. The whole
Yeah.
script is being written for us right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Globally,
Globally.
globally, it's a script.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing the part of Seth Rollins is Vladimir Putin. I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? Wow, Patrick, this has been a great conversation, Great,
Yeah.
great
You're like, I'm never having him back on. I'm never get him off my stage.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on, but who knows what the future holds, and something will come up and I'll be like, hey, Mickey, can I have Patrick on?
Anytime you want me, I'll be here for you.
Yeah,
I
thanks, man.
realize now it's a 10-hour difference. I can do the math. I figured out how to do the math.
Definitely. So, Patrick, where can people find you online?
They could find me on Twitter at P Sangimino. I guess you call that X now because your countryman Elon Musk has changed the name. So that's P Sangimino. And then on Instagram, I'm at Patrick Sangimino. And then let's see, what else do I have? My book is available on Amazon.com, Dogs Chase Cars, and I am also available on BarnesandNoble.com, among lots of other platforms, but those are the two big ones. So, yeah, I hope people consider reading it. I hope I haven't offended anybody and deterred them from wanting to read it after this conversation.
Nah, this show is for the open-minded people,
Wow, the people of
you need to be
South
open-minded
Africa.
to listen to this show.
And I like the people of South Africa. I got to tell you, this has been so much fun.
Yeah, it is, man. I mean, you brought so much fun to it, Like, I mean, it goes both ways, Really does go both ways. So,
Yeah.
before you go, I just got to ask one more thing. So, what's next for you and for 2026? Like, are you planning to write another book?
Yeah, I actually, everybody who's read it said, well, I want to know what his next chapter is. So I'm sitting there in the same character, and he is I'm probably about 2/3 of the way done right now, but he is it's kind of like he's a 63-year-old man, and all of a sudden he's been separated from the job he had for most of his life. And what do you do with your life at that point? Because you still got a good 20, 30 years if you're doing it right. And so it becomes this, you get a do-over now. You get to do what you want to do now. So what are you going to do with your life? And that's what the story is about right now. It's about, what do you do to not only remain relevant, but to it kind of leave your mark, helping those around you and kind of give back to your community and stuff like that.
Nice. Well, put it to paper.
Yeah, by the way, that Super Bowl we were talking about is going to be in Santa Clara, which is 10 minutes away from my house.
Wow.
Yes. So I'm going to traffic jams. I'm going to get stuck in that week.
So, and then is like driving there the only option?
Yeah. Well, you got lots of public transportation. We got trains, and we've got cable cars. We got all kinds of things, so we can move around. So, yeah, you can get on a bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoy Bad Bunny, because I won't.
I don't know who this Bad Bunny is, but he sounds, does he have ears? Does he have big ears or something? I don't know.
This is rapper, but I'm not a fan of the music. I'm not really. I don't know where this came from. Like, but it's once again for me, and this is just my honest opinion on it. It's a sinister political move by bringing Bad Money into this. The script. It's part of the script.
The script comes back to bite, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't get it. I really don't get it. Why?
Maybe someone will swoop in to save the day. John Cena will come in to save the day.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. But let's see what happens. Let's see
Yeah,
what happens.
I will watch it, and I will probably roll my eyes a couple of times. I try not to get mixed up in all of the political stuff I've heard about it,
Mm.
and I've heard about the turning point thing. I think I will watch both of those things, but the Super Bowl halftime is always like being right there on site. It's always amazing to me how they're able to set up a stage and the light shows that they have with it and everything and all of the props. It's amazing that they're able to play football, 20 minutes later.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. I agree. Overall, yeah, good. Overall good. But we'll see what happens. And, maybe after the Super Bowl, you and I will have a chat.
We will. But I will tell you, if the Rams are in that Super Bowl, you're dead. You're dead to me.
Yeah. Let's see what happens.
And now, if the Rams get in, I will root for the other team. But
yeah, let's see. Let's see what happens. As I said, I'm just there like, okay, let's see what's up.
all right.
Patrick,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Really, this is honestly, I don't know when's the last time I had a 1 hour, 30-minute show, but this has been great.
Did we go a little over?
No, I don't mind it going over, And the thing about this show, because I love to keep it so organic and spontaneous, the only parts that are really edited out is where there is freezing. As far as the conversation is concerned, it's out there.
Yeah, this is fun.
Out there. Yeah.
We had good conversation. I enjoyed this a lot. I like the way you think. I like the way you conduct interviews. I like the way this was free flowing. I want to come back on this show.
Wow, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
God bless you. Thank you for being so awesome. Thank you for being so awesome. Yeah. But you just let Vicky know about that. And yeah, then he'll just, put you on the schedule moving forward. He'll say, yeah, Patrick wants to be on it. Yeah, cool. Let's put him in here. Yeah. Here we go.
You know how to reach me. You got my email address. You know how to reach me.
100%. Thank you so much, Patrick. You're such an awesome human being, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah. Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye.